Oh, we're supposed to have an intro here. Welcome, everybody, to the Exes podcast. I'm Scott.
I'm Therese.
And we are the Exes, and we're here to talk about being exes, being friends, but more importantly, let's talk about crime.
Let's talk about crime.
It's just how we ended up here. We should probably change the name of the show, but I like the Exes. So
Yeah, I like it too.
We are a couple of people who we really kind of get involved in the crimes and the, kind of trying to figure things out and follow the court cases. And I think we've talked about this before. With you, it started with the OJ trial, and with me, it started with I just kind of got hooked into these ID shows, investigation discoveries, and it's just interesting, with these crimes and everything. And so that's what we like to share with you guys, and we hope you guys share it with us and enjoy it. We're going to have some guests coming up soon that we're going to have joining us, because we're finding out that there are a lot of people out there that enjoy this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the biggest, highest rated podcasts on the planet are about crime.
Yeah.
You listen to some of the big ones, right?
Yeah, I listen. Crime Weekly is one of the, I don't know, they were on like the top 200 of Spotify. Probably not that. Probably Lori Hellis isn't that big.
Okay.
And then Crime Talk, he's another lawyer.
Well, didn't one of them really come to the forefront with this Daybell trial and stuff?
The lawyer the retired lawyer, Lori Hellis, yeah.
Okay, that's the one. Yeah. Really got some ground there and got popular from that. Mama Sandy's with us and saying hi, kids.
Hi.
And she's nice and cool down at her house. I am up here sweating, and it's part of my weight loss program. I'm living in a sweat lodge today. Let me see. We got Mark Lang. I just signed in. Were you previously married before?
We were not married.
We weren't married. We were together for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. We were childhood sweethearts, and then we lost track of each other. Then we were together for about 10 years. We were engaged, but we never got married, and we ended up becoming exes. But still, I guess we could say best friends in a lot of ways. So,
yes.
Just the kind of thing, Mark, that we like to tell people, that how do you spend all these years with somebody, and then when things go south, you say everything sucks? How could you say that? It's not true, and everything doesn't suck. There's parts that are broken. That's true. You either can work on them or not work on them, fix them or not fix them. But don't pretend you hate everything about the person. That's really a bullshit idea, and we're trying to let people know that. Especially, especially when there's kids involved, right, Therese? I mean,
right.
The truth is that with my ex, and, before she passed away, and with your exes, you've had to work with them because of the kids, and you got to kind of lean into those things that you like about them just so you can build a friendship, right?
Right. Yeah. You have to work together. You have to co-parent. You have to try to get along.
And you should be able to.
Excuse me. I think that when you start out with it focused on the kids, then as the kids grow and get older, you also can grow and get, more mature and just be a normal person again with that person that you used to know.
Yeah. I mean, you're not besties with your ex-husband.
No.
But you're friendly. You're friends.
Yeah.
You could say, there's nothing wrong with that. You and I are a little different. Just, I don't know. I feel that because we share so many different things that we really love in common. That it's really kind of cool to have a friend, a best friend that you don't have to give up on. But Mark, that's why we do it. And then what we were doing every show, and we were talking about all the relationship issues, and we're always willing to talk about those. And we've both been pretty forthright with our little idiosyncrasies and problems that we've had. But then we started morphing into the stuff that we really like, which is crime. So that's one of the things we're doing. We're kind of like heart to heart.
Heart to heart. I remember that.
End up dead. Remember those guys?
Yeah.
Somebody would always invite the Harts over for a party. We're having a cocktail party. Invite the Harts. Don't do that. Every time the Harts show up, somebody died. It's like the Murder, She Wrote girl, the Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah.
Every time she went somewhere to stay at someone's house for a weekend, somebody died.
Somebody died.
It's not about solving mysteries. It's about stop inviting the people who have murder follow them everywhere they go. Nice. Karen saying hi there. Hi, Karen. Thanks for watching.
Hi, Karen.
So Mark, Sandy, Karen, and everybody else out there, thanks for joining in. Speaking of heart to heart, before we get into our case of the day, I was reading some information on the old Natalie Wood case.
Okay.
And I would really like to, if you agree, I'd love to do a deep dive into what really happened and what we know, because that case was closed, or it was an open case, then it was closed. Then they reopened it again back in somewhere around 2006 or something like that, or 2008. And then they closed it. But there's been so many weird stories about this thing. And it's just such a classic mystery that still has not been solved. And there's actually Robert Wagner's still alive.
He is still alive, yeah.
But he's in his 90s, and there has been some talk about he is starting to lean a little bit into telling the truth about what happened.
Really?
But he's also developed dementia.
Of course.
Even if he did lean into telling the truth, can you believe him anymore? So let's maybe we'll deep dive into that case one day. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. We could do that.
All right. Sounds good. So, Therese, what are we looking at today?
We are looking at the Suzanne Morphew case. It was a woman who went missing in Colorado in 2020. She disappeared on Mother's Day. Well, she was reported to be gone on Mother's Day. They think that she may have disappeared the day before. So on Mother's Day, the 10th of May, 2020, she went missing. She was reported missing. Search efforts started. They questioned the husband. He was out of town working, he said. First, he said he was training with the volunteer fire department, which they found out they didn't have any trainings that day. So then he said he was preparing for a job he had the next day, because I guess in Colorado, you're not allowed, like contractors and stuff are not allowed to work on Sundays.
Okay. All right.
So something goes with that. On the 14th, which 4 days later, the family offered $100,000 reward for her safe return. And then a family friend put in another $100,000. So there's $200,000 on the table.
All right.
Safe return. On the May 15th, they found some personal items of her, including her bike, her helmet.
Her mountain bike was found off the road, down an embankment, and there's a picture there. But and this was caught on the body cam of the police officer who found it. He searched the area, couldn't find anything. The helmet, interesting enough, was found about a half mile down the road.
Yeah, it was found in a different spot and without damage to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and the bike, I don't believe there was very much damage to the bike at all.
No,
you could see it there as they examined it away from the scene. So it doesn't look like it was a bike accident or hit by something or anything like that. It was just the bike was just tossed off the side of the road or whatever.
Yeah. And one thing that I think perked the policeman's interest was the fact that it wasn't her husband that actually called 911. It was a neighbor, because like everybody claimed the daughters were away on a camping trip. They said that they tried to text her Happy Mother's Day. They were due home the next day, I think. Barry, her husband, said he tried to text her, and then someone called the neighbor to go check and see if she was there. And the neighbor is the one that called the police.
Yeah, these are the two daughters seen with their father, during the trial that he faced, which we'll get to in a few. But those are the two daughters. They were camping. They called home. They could not reach mom. They tried to text. They called the father, who was apparently, in the story that I have, was driving out to see a construction crew and set them up for the next day, which is kind of what you were saying.
Yeah.
And they called him, and then he called a neighbor and he asked the neighbor to check in on her and check to see if her bike was home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why would you say that? I mean, that's just strange to begin with.
Well, I think the neighbor said, well, her car is there or something.
Oh,
okay. And then he said, is her bike there?
Okay,
but she did go on bike rides. She wasn't, not a professional biker, but she did go on bike rides.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's obviously it's a nice mountain bike, so it's all right.
Some of her things that she normally would have taken on her bike ride were found in the house, though.
Right.
So.
Now the husband didn't turn around and come straight back either. Just to let people know, he continued on to drop off equipment at the hotel where the construction crew was staying because it was an out-of-town job, and he dropped off a shovel and some other equipment to the crew.
To build a wall.
Why do you somebody's missing and you're dropping a shovel off and trying to get rid of a shovel? That's very strange. But I'm just saying, I don't know. It's just strange. Go ahead.
So on the 17th, the sheriff's office asked for help from the public for any video footage they might have from 5/8 to 5/12. Also on that day, Barry put out like a 30-second video asking for her safe return, which was not very genuine sounding, if you ask me. I mean, you were married for 26 years and you put out a 30-second video. It was a little weird.
Was there emotion in the video, or was it more? I mean, I haven't seen the video.
Oh, you didn't see the video?
No.
It's a privately shot video. It's just him and whoever shot it for him. There was a nephew that was like the family spokesperson in the beginning that then disappeared off the face of the earth. So I think they were assuming it was like he was like taping it for him, but he was and he released it himself. It wasn't like an interview with a film crew. It wasn't anything professional. So you would think he could say whatever he wanted, and he really didn't say much.
Well, and you would think news channels would be dying to have him say something on the air. If he wanted to release something, why wouldn't he do it that way?
Right.
The only thing I'm thinking is he had to rehearse it. That's why he wanted to do it privately. I'm just saying. When
we get off, you'll have to go look for it.
I will, definitely. All right. So we've got the missing bike. There was water. They were doing a lot of water searches too. Was there an indication that you went into the water, or was it just part of the grid search?
I think that there was a lake running along like the trail where they found the bike, the road that they found the bike on. So I think that's why they thought maybe if she crashed or got knocked off her bike, maybe she ended up in the water.
All right.
Barry tried to float the idea that she got taken by a mountain lion. But the police kind of shot that down because they said they would see evidence of that.
There would have to be blood trails, evidence of something. Mountain lions, they're not known for leaving no evidence behind.
Yeah.
I mean, they may wipe up their fingerprints, but usually they leave blood behind. Husband should have left work immediately. He's probably the one, Donna's saying. Donna Fahey. Thanks for joining us, Donna. Yeah, my mom was also commenting that Christopher Walken was on the boat with the Natalie Wood thing. Yeah, and I agree. We're going to talk about that one. But yeah, the husband probably, he's starting to look kind of shady in some of these things. He didn't return right away. Now this video that was obviously rehearsed and shot privately. So they were looking at him right away, weren't they?
Pretty much, yeah. But they didn't search the house until the 19th. That was like 9 days later.
Yeah, she disappeared on the 10th. They didn't search until the 19th, which is very strange. Why the delay in that? Any idea?
I don't know why. I don't know. I think that they were listening to the talk of her being out on a bike ride. I think they were taking that as a truth. And now they're thinking she probably never even went on a bike ride. Right.
Okay.
So they did take possession of the house for like 11 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So in August, I shouldn't do this in cursive because I can't read my own writing. So in August, Suzanne's brother asked for volunteers. He was coming from Indiana. He wanted to do a big search himself. He was unhappy with the way it was being handled, and he really wanted to try to find some answers.
So wait a minute. She disappears on May 10th.
Mm-hmm.
You got all of May, June, July, and here at the end of August, August 30th, he asked for volunteers to do a search. That's 4 months later.
Mm-hmm. Her brother, not her husband, her brother.
No, her brother. But still, that seems like a long time to wait.
Well,
was he reacting to something, or was there something you think that he was?
He was talking. He was trying to get information. He was trying to get information all along, and he started talking about it in July, and it just took until August to actually get it all together. But he was unhappy with the answers he was getting. He wasn't like, they weren't finding her. They weren't finding really much evidence at all. Barry was just willy-nilly walking around. So I think he was just increasingly upset. And his dad, I guess, had cancer. And so I think he was really desperately trying to get some answers for his father, who was so sick at the time.
Oh, okay. And maybe he had some responsibilities there where he couldn't do it any sooner too then.
Yeah.
They're continuing to search into September.
Mm-hmm.
There's been hundreds of people joining in the search. They're searching all sorts of land and woods, lakes, everything. Other than the bicycle, was there any evidence anywhere else other than some of the things they found in the home?
During this search, they said that they found some evidence near the house, but I don't think they disclosed what exactly that was.
Well, there's a couple of things that during the search they found that there was a door jamb that was broken in the house, like a door had been kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the pen.
No, I think they found that in the house in the closet.
The secret spy pen found on the floor in the closet, which is it's a audio recording pen. It's like something you'd use for spying on people or something. Did they ever figure out the purpose of that pen, or what was the deal with that thing?
Well, they think Suzanne acquired the pen. They think her friend in Florida bought it for her and sent it to her in the mail, kind of incognito, because she was trying to record Barry. I think she was trying to find out if he was having an affair. I think she was trying to record some of the arguments that they had, but she also ended up recording herself on the phone with someone she was having an affair with, which did not come out until like a year later, I believe.
Wow.
That she was having an affair.
So they were both having an affair.
Barry denies that he was, and I don't know if they ever found evidence that he was, but she suspected that he was and had multiple times.
Well, that's amazing. If she's having an affair, then she gets upset because he's having an affair. That's quite strange in itself, right there. So the
hurt other people.
Well, yeah. I mean, the other thing I wanted to bring up, and they have some evidence on the camera. This is the day that she disappeared.
Oh, that's right.
And this is Barry making multiple trips to garbage bins or trash bins throughout the city. He didn't put his trash all in one bin. He went to several locations and dumped material. They found it on camera. Of course, they're looking at film, later. So It's not like you can go and find out what did he dump in there.
Right.
I don't know if he ever gave an explanation as to why he was doing that, or unless he just denied that wasn't him.
He said he was cleaning out his truck. He said he was cleaning some stuff out of the hotel room, because he did have a hotel room. He was expected to stay at that job site that was a couple hours away.
Right.
But in October, he put their house up for sale.
Yes. Yeah. October 6th, he put up the house for sale.
Yeah.
She's still missing.
She's still missing.
It has now been only, 6.5, 7 months.
Uh-huh.
And he's already like, okay, screw it. We'll just sell the house.
Yeah.
Usually when somebody's missing, and if you're not guilty of doing something wrong, you're not running to leave the house. You're still hoping they'll come back or something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or this guy, everything about this guy says something's wrong.
Yeah. 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 So almost a year later, they arrested Barry.
Sandy mom wants to know, was there any cement being poured at the construction site?
There was a foundation that his company had poured around that time, and they did bring in those x-ray things.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they dug up part of it, but they didn't find anything.
Okay. All right.
So he was arrested, and he was charged with a voting fraud. That's how they kind of arrested him and kept him in jail, was because he submitted Suzanne Morphew's voter's ballot. He forged it. He signed it. He wanted the vote to go for Trump, so he submitted it.
Voter fraud. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
But that's how they got him. That's how they got him and could keep him for more than 48 hours, right? Excuse me.
Yeah. So that was on May 5th. That was 1 year later. 1 year later.
Yeah, it was 1 year later. Yeah. And then in August of the 2021 is when they got all the information. They realized that she was having an affair. And I guess she had been having this affair for like a year. In September, Barry was released on bond, and his arrest warrants were, made public.
Right.
Emails were released. I guess she had emailed some family and friends saying that, she was going to divorce him and that it was over and she was troubled. And so that's what they think. They think that she was finally telling him, this isn't working. We're over. I guess that was a text she sent to him too. Like, I'm done. I don't care what you do anymore. And then in April of 2022, they did have a pretrial, but they dropped all the charges against Barry without prejudice. So they can bring charges on him again.
Right.
If they find more evidence, but I guess the DA was not convinced that they would get a guilty verdict without her body and without more evidence.
So how that works is if the prosecutor wants to prosecute a case, just so people understand how this works, if the case is dismissed with prejudice, it means you cannot retry that case. The case is like shot. But if the judge dismisses the case without prejudice, it means that it still can be tried, just not at this time. The DA went to him and said, listen, we have evidence. We have a lot of things that don't add up. Something is definitely not kosher, but we cannot charge this guy at this time because it would be and basically how they present it to a judge is this would be a waste of the court's time because we don't have enough to convict.
Yeah.
So instead of wasting your time, let's just push it all away for now, but keep the door open for future prosecution.
Talk money to him. That works.
That's exactly how it works. But there were a lot of circumstantial things. I want to mention the truck real quick because Barry had told the authorities that he went to bed around 8 o'clock on the 9th, which is the night before she allegedly disappeared. She could have actually disappeared on the 9th. We don't know, but it was the 10th when it was reported. So he said he went to bed at 8 o'clock, but his truck's computer shows, and there's evidence in the photo that the house or the truck had backed up towards the house at 9:30 p.m. because there's a computer in there that tells you what the truck movements. Mm-hmm. And so they actually were able to determine that while he was supposed to be in bed, somehow his truck magically backed up to the house.
Yeah.
So,
but that's all they could say.
That's all you can say. You can't say anything else.
They can't say, And there was also some phone activity, some erratic running around the property and running around the house activity in the afternoon of the 9th. really can't. I mean, they have it, but they can't really say what it is.
It's crazy. Lynn is with us. Hello, beautiful Therese and Scott. Okay.
Hi,
Lynn.
I did want to point out in June of 2022, the DA was put on administrative suspension. And there's been some of the other prosecutors in that case have been under some review, I guess.
Really?
For what I don't know.
Well, I would assume it's for mishandling this case in some way.
Could be.
But we don't know for sure.
And now Barry's attorneys are filing charges against the DA and 6 other people that were involved with the case.
Yeah. Apparently, in a series of pretrial motions, Barry Morphew's defense team pressed the judges to impose sanctions on the prosecution for failing to turn over potentially exculpatory evidence ahead of the trial. So this is an issue where not only did the DA not have a very good case, there were things that kind of worked in there against them that they kept to themselves, and they were supposed to divulge that.
Yeah,
so,
there was some DNA in her car, I guess, that was unknown, and they didn't do any further testing on it because, I mean, it could be like a repair person. It could be any, it wasn't the boyfriend. They cleared the boyfriend. Exactly. He lived in Michigan. He was married with 6 kids, so his life blew up.
So the DA Stanley was also chastised by the judge for a clear pattern of discovery violations in this case, and so there's obviously you had a DA or an entire DA's office apparently that was not up to the task of a trial like this and was taking shortcuts, and they got caught. When this is one of those things where you need a lot of patience, the evidence is coming together. There are little bits of evidence: the trash, the truck, the syringe at the house. There was a lot of different things out there. If they had been more patient and done things the right way, maybe they could have put a case together. But it sounds to me like they were trying to take shortcuts and they got caught. Is that what I'm listening to?
I think that they tried to move too fast.
Yeah.
I think that they arrested him and wanted to charge him sooner than probably was ideal.
Yeah.
Because they should have taken a little more time and looked into a few more things. So your opinion, like for me, I don't see anyone else killing her. I don't see her just walking away from her daughters at all for 3 years now without being in any contact. So I do think she is dead somewhere.
Well, before you finish that thought, I want to hear your thought. Do we know where the daughters stand? Are they standing by their father? And
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I do think she is dead, and I can't think of anyone else that would really want to carry that out besides Barry, right?
Yeah.
She was going to leave him. He claims he didn't know about the affair, but he could. Who knows? He could have found out. That could have pushed him over the edge, maybe. He was an avid hunter. He knows the woods. He knows the grounds. He would know how to hide a body very well, I guess. So I don't know. For me, I feel bad that they couldn't prove it, but I don't think they can prove it. I think they messed up too much in order to prove it. But I personally think he must have done it.
It really, I'm going to go along with you on all of that. I agree with you. Just the way the events unfolded, it was a little too neat. The daughters were about to come home and they're trying to contact mom. That's when she disappears. He is driving out to out of town to set up this job. It's just a little too convenient. He gets a call. He calls the neighbor. He doesn't call the police. He doesn't do anything else. He calls the neighbor, go check on her, and then asking her, check on the mountain bike too, those kind of things. It was almost like everything was kind of laid out really neat. And, in cases where somebody else is involved, it doesn't take into consideration the schedules of everybody around. They go kill and they go do things. This one was way too interweaved with everyone else's schedules, and that's why I'm thinking he had a hand in it. Really kind of going around town and dropping things off in dumpsters, things like that. That's not a behavior you can really write off in any other way other than what are you trying to hide? Yeah. I mean, I have gone through the drive-through and pulled some trash out of my car and dropped it in a dumpster behind the drive-through car wash. But I haven't like driven down the street and says, oh, there's an Arby's, there's a dumpster, let me dump some stuff in there. And then driven down the road a little bit further and say, oh, Walmart's got a dumpster, let me dump some stuff in there. You don't do that.
No.
It's just, I mean, everybody's got hobbies, but I don't think that's a real hobby.
No, I don't think so.
Sandy's saying this does not sound, or maybe it's not an experienced investigation team. And it really does not sound like one, does it?
It's Salida. It's a very, very small town also. So I think like some of the police officers have been, I think that they're been on the force for a while, but it's a very, like, they've never seen anything. They've never probably encountered this in 15 years, right?
Yeah. Especially with somebody. I mean, this guy's obviously, he's not an idiot, but he left enough breadcrumbs to keep this very interesting. Donna's totally agreeing with you in your assessment of the situation. I'm agreeing with you too, Therese. I think that I just don't know that they've done too much damage for them to reopen the case. I don't know if it can happen. He's at this point sold the house. He's moving on. He's going to live his life.
He moved out of Colorado now.
Yeah. And unless he plans on killing somebody else, this may be one of those ones where they're not going to be able to nail this guy.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because now that this evidence has been exposed, the value of it gets lower. It's almost like you need the shock value of, oh my God, look what we found. Now it's like, yeah, we found that 10 years ago. We couldn't do anything with it. So now what does it mean? Right. It's going to get lost. We're now into what year were we talking about? 2010? No.
20. It's been like 3 years.
Yeah, 2020. That's what I meant. 2010. I don't know where I went into a time warp there. All right, so it's 3 years. It's going to be 4 years. Not that long. It's just, this is going to. I don't see it, and really with the prosecutor's misconduct and the mishandling of some of this evidence, I could see some of this evidence actually being thrown out anyway, because if they can point back to this kind of malfeasance, if you will, or mistreatment of this evidence, they could throw a lot of it out if he ever went back to trial anyway. So this might be one that we're never going to see solved. Yeah,
I agree. It's sad, but I do agree.
Now, Donna says, give it 10 years, it will be solved.
Hopefully.
The only way, I hate to say this, but this might be one of those ones when he decides to kill his next person, then they'll tie them all together.
Well, lepers don't change their spots. I mean, if he's got a temper like that, it's going to show up again at some point, right? You would think.
That would be interesting to look at, because we've seen many cases where somebody kills somebody, gets away with it, and then years later they kill another one. And most of the time it's spousal murder, where sometimes they'll catch somebody and they'll be like, oh my God, he's had 3 wives die on him. And somebody finally puts it all together. I don't know how often there are just one and dones.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it can happen, I guess.
Well, certainly it can happen, yeah.
Especially like a crime of passion, you get so upset, you get so worked up, it can be an accident, it can be on purpose, but it could be a one-time thing. It's like that thing in between you two people, right? And maybe nobody else is ever going to push you to that point. So I can see it happening just once, but I don't know.
I know. It's a strange one. It's the Suzanne Morphew case. And you could look it up. It's still an active investigation. They do periodically come out with, and Therese and I were talking about this beforehand, periodically they'll come out with a statement. We think we know where the body is. We just can't get to it. But as Therese pointed out to me before the show started, they've made that statement many, many times.
Yeah.
So I think it's like they look at some dark pit and they're like, oh, it must be down there. And then later on they look at some deep lake and they say, oh, it must be down there. So I don't think they really have a clue.
Well, this happened in May, right? It happened in May in the hills of Colorado. So they were saying when they were really trying to search for her body, they were saying they had to wait for the snow to melt. So it was months later. And then the snow melted, and there were some reports of some searches going on, but nothing ever came of it. They never found anything. And so now they're saying again, they think it's in a difficult spot to find. Well, obviously, it's in a difficult spot.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't found it in 3 years.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard to find. Well, you know what? Good killers make it hard to find. If they were just going to leave them laying in the street, it would be much easier, make your job easier. I'm sorry. You're going to have to get a shovel and a little metal detector and do some work, okay? But again, that's just one of those cases. I'm actually a little bit shocked at the mishandling. I think a more experienced team would have taken a lot of that evidence, kept it under wraps until they could put enough together to truly build a case.
I think they probably should have called in the FBI. I mean, everybody was really kind of encouraged when they had the house for 11 days, because that's like a long time.
Yeah.
And it usually indicates that they're trying to piece together what happened. They're trying to piece it all together in the house of what they think happened. And then they just released it back to the family, and that was it.
Well, it sounds to me like the way this prosecution team was working, they had the house for 11 days, but 10 days of that was a house party. They had some pizza, a little kid and play, and they were just right?
It was a really nice, expensive house.
Yeah, I mean, they had a good time. They invited some friends over. They had some barbecues. And then one of them said, oh, look, this might be evidence. And they're like, we'll get it later. I think
the DA was a little overzealous. I think she was new to the office, and I think that she wanted to make a name for herself. So I think she moved. I think she pushed them to move too quickly.
Okay. All right. That's the Suzanne Morphew case. Again, if you want to look it up and get some more information on it, it is out there. All this information is there. There's terrific timelines, lots of photos and stuff. We've got no body, and there's really no real theory about what happened. Right. There's been a few speculations because of they found a syringe container. And they said, well, he drugged her and then he dumped her. But that's just basically saying, since there's a syringe container, that could have happened. Well, yeah, it could have happened. She also could have got beamed up to Mars. We don't know. We just don't know.
We don't know.
They had nothing. They had evidence that could tie it all together, but they rushed it. And that's what we end up with. Too many cases do end like that with bad prosecution or, I mean, let's face it, really, really good defense teams. Sometimes that's what we're talking about too, is really, really good defense teams. Yeah. I don't think his defense team had to put in any overtime on this because they screwed it up so bad.
Probably.
So, yeah. All right. So anyway, that's the Suzanne Morphew case. We're going to look into some celebrity cases. Definitely the Natalie Wood will be a very interesting case because there's a lot of strange things that went on. Apparently Natalie Wood was in the movie Splendor in the Grass. And Warren Beatty was in that film, and apparently her and Warren Beatty had an affair, and Robert Wagner was upset about that affair. And the name of the boat that they were on was Splendor, which is very similar to Splendor in the Grass. So was that a jealous thing? Was that a problem? There's all sorts of really cool things out there. We're not going to make any Natalie Wood jokes. What kind of wood doesn't float, Natalie Wood? We're not going to do those jokes.
Yeah, okay.
We're not going to do those. Let me see. If you use murder to solve a problem, you'll probably do it again. Yes, that's exactly what Therese and I were saying. It's likely this guy, if he killed his wife, then he'll do it again. But there are one and dones as well. So we'll look into that one or maybe some other cases we have coming up. We also want to remind you that our favorite number one case, the Vallow Daybell trial, murder case with the two kids and the ex-husband and the ex-wife and all the different murders that went on. We're going to be following that. Lori, her trial ended. She was found guilty. She's going to sentencing at the end of July, and we will bring you something really good with that sentencing. And then we start prepping for her husband's trial, Chad Daybell.
Yes.
And that ought to be very interesting given the success of the trial against Lori and the success of the conviction, I wonder how hard they're going to come at him, or if he's going to make a deal before it even gets to trial.
I think that they're waiting to see what her sentence is, and then take it from there. Because right now they can still go for the death penalty for him. His lawyers can probably argue that because as co-conspirator, they took it off the table for her. Blah 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 blah. So he probably can get that taken off the table, but he may not want to go through all that. He may take a plea.
He just might, and I'm thinking that's quite possible.
I honestly don't think he's as strong-willed as she is.
It's almost like he's more delusional, but he's not as evil. I have a feeling a lot of the evilness came from her mind, and this goes back to her childhood. I mean, this woman. Shave her head. There's a 666 on there somewhere. I swear.
Well, yeah, but also he was hearing, he was having visions and stuff when he was like in the seminary, like doing missions. Like,
but was there any evidence? Was there any evidence of him being violent before this?
No, but was there any?
Right.
Is there any true evidence of her being violent before this? No.
True evidence? No.
Yes. Speculated evidence.
In my head, though, yeah. I got speculations. Let me tell you.
I mean, let's face it. She made almost all of her husband's lives miserable. We'll just say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, it's time for Crazy Criminals. What do you want to do? You want to talk about some crazy criminals?
Sure.
A trio of drug thieves thought it was their lucky day. They broke into a house in Silver Springs, Florida, and discovered 3 jars of cocaine, loaded to the top of cocaine. They took it home and started snorting the contents. The police did catch them, and that's when they discovered the urns were, in fact, the remains of her father, her stepfather, and her 2 dogs.
Oh, jeez.
And they were snorting all of those remains.
Oh. Gross.
Yes. Yeah. That's not a good high right there. That's not
no, it's not a good high.
Okay. Let's see. The worst possible time to faint in the middle of robbing a bank.
No.
In Beaver Creek, Ohio, a thief was robbing a bank, and as he approached the teller, he got so nervous he fainted. They called 911. The ambulance driver arrived, and when the medic arrived to help him off the floor, he handed the medic the robbery note. Because he didn't know where he was and what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, I was here to do something. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, before you put me in the ambulance, would you grab the money for me? Oh, boy. A home break-in in Mesa, Arizona was foiled when a criminal really just kind of brazenly jumped through a bedroom window, landed in the bedroom in a hamper where he found himself stuck. He actually went into the hamper and through the hamper, and it wrapped itself around him, and he got stuck, and he was still stuck in this hamper when the police arrived.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Must have been a big-ass hamper.
Yeah, I know, right? Joseph Getz was trying to rob a bank in York, Pennsylvania, and he came across a couple of snags. He tried to rob the first teller. The teller fainted. He went to the next teller, and both of the next 2 tellers in line had just emptied their cash drawers for the day.
Oh, that's a bad day.
So he stormed out of the bank with his gun, his note, and no money, and yelled back that he was going to write an angry letter to the owners of the bank.
Okay.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, there was a guy in what is it with these people in Florida? Craig Aylesworth in Bithlow, Florida, tossed a Molotov cocktail, which is basically a bottle of booze with a rag in it to explode when it's a firebomb, so to speak. He tossed it at his neighbor's trailer, but it was just as the wind shifted, and the Molotov cocktail ended up shifting directions and landing on his own trailer, and he was arrested for arson of burning down his own home.
Oh my gosh! So where was that in Florida?
It's called Bithlow. Bithlow.
Interesting.
Now, this one can only happen in Florida. A man was arrested for tossing a live alligator through the drive-through window of a Wendy's.
Oh, my gosh. Why?
I don't know what he was trying to do, but he did. He drove away without paying for his meal. He ordered a meal, got his meal, and when they asked for payment, he threw a live alligator into the Wendy's drive-through window and drove off without paying for his food. So it's the first time I've ever heard of somebody using a live alligator. I mean, I'm not sure what was the thought behind that.
I don't know. Why did you order food that you couldn't pay for?
I don't. Why would
Just
you
to
throw
an alligator in there?
Why would you throw an alligator at somebody?
So wait, don't you pay at one window and pick up at the next window?
Apparently, they were doing it both at the same window, I guess. But yeah, he got in trouble for obviously endangering the welfare of an animal, assault with a deadly weapon. He got charged with assault with a deadly weapon for throwing an alligator at somebody. Should happen more often than you would think, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so a man went into a drugstore in Baltimore. Finally, we're out of Florida. There are criminals other places. In Baltimore, he pulled a gun, yelled out, "This is a robbery," and then pulled a bag over his head to hide his identity when he realized he had never cut eye holes in the bag.
Oh, my God.
As he struggled to spin the bag to try to find eye holes that he never cut in it, the security guard tackled him, and the robbery was foiled.
Oh, good for the security guard.
Test your baggies before you do. Oh, my God. This is crazy.
Well, and then you go in and you yell and draw attention to yourself and then try to put the bag over your head?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
You don't. I think he didn't want the sound muffled by the bag.
Oh,
so he probably came in with the bag, lifted it up like, put it down, and then realized nothing. I got nothing. I can't see. I can't see. Well, if you're in trouble, you're in trouble. All right, last one. Investigating a purse snatching, detectives picked up a man who fit the thief's description, and they drove him back to the scene. Sometimes what they'll do is when there's somebody like a purse snatcher or something, if they grab the guy within a block or two, they'll bring him right back to the scene and have him identified. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they told him to exit the car and face the victim for an ID. What he did was he got out of the car, looked at the victim, and said, "Yes, that's the woman I robbed." He thought he was supposed to ID her. You can't make this shit up, people. Solved. Yeah, can't make this shit up.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I robbed her.
I'm going to tell you. Let me see. Oh, my God. Funny Karmic. Who has an alligator in their car? Yeah, I don't know.
Who wants to travel with an alligator in their car? I mean, I'm sure it was a small one, but.
Yeah, who takes your alligator to Wendy's? It's like, come on, Elvis, let's go to Wendy's. And,
Poor alligator.
If you tell an alligator you're going to Wendy's for lunch, there better be a girl named Wendy that he's going to eat. That's all I'm saying.
I hope that he got charged with animal cruelty also.
I would bet, because putting an alligator in Wendy's kitchen is cruel to the alligator because he could eat some of that food. I'm sorry. I don't know how they rank on the healthy scale, but Wendy's is my least favorite fast food.
Yeah, I never really go to Wendy's. Well, I never really go anywhere anymore.
Their fries suck. I mean, I don't eat any of that anymore. If I could have McDonald's fries with a Whopper from Burger King,
Arby's.
And then the Arby's fries, the curly fries.
And the roast beef. That's the one thing I can go for every now and then is the Arby's roast beef.
I don't see that as bad as other fast food because that's sandwiches.
Yeah. I mean,
it's sandwiches. Fast food sandwiches. The show is out of the world's dumbest criminals. Yeah, definitely. These are the world's dumbest criminals we're talking about here. So I got plenty more for other shows where, trust me, we don't run out of dumb criminals.
Yeah.
We just don't.
Probably never will.
Well, we're never going to run out of dumb people.
Well, we have had, have you been having the problem with the Kias and the Hyundais being stolen?
I'm not aware of it, no. Why?
Oh, my God. It's been, like, rampant here. Like, they even did a recall and fixed, because apparently what the Hyundai and Kia, the newer models, have, like, this USB port that is actually the ignition. So you
Right.
don't really need a key. So once you can, if you could take the steering column off, you can activate that and just take off with the car. So they did a recall and fix that. And they've been telling people to buy those things that go on their steering wheel, the clubs.
Oh my God, seriously?
Yeah, but these are like kids that are taking these cars. They'll steal one car, they'll drive a couple miles away until they crash it because they're like 13, 14. Then they steal another one, drive another, I don't know. It's been crazy. It's been like hundreds of stolen. And then they just leave them. They just ditch them. Sometimes they crash them. Sometimes they don't. They just run out of gas and leave them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I'll tell you what, there's always going to be something out there for us to look at. But, I think for today, this wraps up our show. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's 96 degrees in my house. And I need to take a cold shower and try to find some relaxation under my fan for the evening while I anxiously await the new motor for my air conditioner tomorrow.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
Well, I appreciate that. But, hey, don't feel bad for me, people. Everybody could use a little sweat every now and then. I'm just really glad that I've got no one near me because I am disgusting. I am disgusting. This is not the time for me to commit a crime. I would leave DNA everywhere. I'm like oozing. I'm oozing things.
I can sympathize because I know how hot it can get there.
Yeah. Well, we've been here with the hurricane coming and losing power. Like I said, I've got my fridge and my freezer. I've got ice pops. I've got ice. I've got plenty of club soda and water and lemonade. I've got fans. So I'm really not in bad shape. Not compared to when we were in the hurricane and we had no power.
No power.
Everything was stagnant. No air moved whatsoever.
It was gross.
And we were laying all over the house. I mean, it looked like a murder scene. It looked like, the Mansons had just visited. We were laying on the floor. You were on the bed spread out. Everybody was everywhere. Nobody was feeling good.
No, nobody could sleep. It was awful.
Yeah. So anyway, one night I'm going to be fine. But everyone out there, I appreciate you guys joining us. As always, we love sharing our passion for crime and talking about crime and other things with you, as well as our passion for friendship and just having fun together. We love you guys. If anybody wants to join us on a show, a friend of mine, Heather's going to be joining us sometime soon. I did a podcast with her earlier, and she's really interested in the crime stuff, so we're going to bring her on. If anybody else wants to join us and jump in sometime, please, we would love to have you.
Yeah,
we would love to have you. And as for us, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another show.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Any final thoughts, Therese?
No, stay away from bands.
Stay away from what?
Vans.
Oh, vans. Yes.
Yes.
Don't take candy from strangers unless it's like really good candy. All right. Because if it's got, if you're going to risk your life over something, make sure it's not just like a Clark bar. It's got to be at least some really good and plenties or something. All right.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, I'm Scott, and for Therese, we thank you for joining us. We will catch you next time right here on the Exes podcast. Everyone take care.